Mr. Chairman. As I look at these nominees to the FDIC board, I'm really scratching my head because for all the talk of diversity and inclusion that members of this committee have championed and that the White House has championed, I'm not seeing that kind of diversity that seems to dominate the thinking about nominees in front of us today. Further, I'm actually kind of angry that you, Mr. Greenberg, forced the resignation of your predecessor as FDIC chair, a first-generation American immigrant who was a woman. So, my question is this: are there any women currently nominated or serving on the FDIC board, Mr. Greenberg?
No, Senator.
Do you feel your nomination advances diversity on the FDIC board?
Not in that sense, no, Senator.
But so many on this committee think it's important to send the signal, and many qualified candidates have been passed over by this administration for other roles because they are not sufficiently diverse. So why you?
Well, it's it's a little over my pay grade, Senator. All I can say is I've served at the FDIC. I believe deeply in its mission. I've tried to serve it well. And I think I have the capability to continue to provide leadership, and it's a very important agency.
Why did you force the FDIC chair out?
I would, if I may, Senator, the issue goes to the authority of the agency. And under the Federal Deposit Insurance Act, the authority of the agency explicitly is vested in the board of directors. And a majority of the board has the authority to place items before the board.
But never had until this.
No, actually, Senator,
On a chair, you have forced out chairs. When there was a change of administration in the past, was the chair forced out ever before this one? I would challenge that, the conclusion that this was not a unique situation. I want to turn next to Dodd-Frank. 12 U.S.C. 1812A1 requires that the FDIC board have one member with state bank supervisory experience. That's a quote. State bank supervisor is defined in that same statute as being an officer of a state with primary regulatory authority over state banks. So this is not merely a federal regulator that oversees state banks. So neither Mr. Hale nor Mr. McKernan have experience as a state bank regulator. Mr. Greenberg, have you worked as a state bank regulator for a state banking agency?
I have not worked for a state banking agency, Senator.
Have you ever written a report of examination or issued an exam rating to a community bank? The things that would give you a good understanding of how fair a bank's exam rate is, for example?
Well, I would point out that the FDIC supervises, as you know, state-chartered institutions.
Have you ever written a report of examination?
No, I'm not an examiner. I've just served on the board of the agency.
Do you think someone should have been nominated to the FDIC board with state bank supervisory experience? Because most banks in our dual banking system are state-chartered.
They are the majority of the institutions. I understand why you asked the question, Senator, in a sense that that's also above my pay grade. It's a judgment for the White House in terms of the nomination.
Well, the statute requires someone who has actually served as a state bank regulator. That's not you or any other nominee here. So I think it's pretty clear that the White House and this committee think it's okay to ignore the clear text of Dodd-Frank. And I don't think this committee should move forward with these nominations until we start following the law. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.